Hello again from my front porch. I'm doing this one more in the evening, and I think this may be the better time to do these. The lighting is really good. Although there are other times I do them and I'm more in the shadows and you can't really see me as much, you may think that lighting is better. So here's what's on my mind for us to talk about tonight. It's issues of trust, and specifically lack of trust. See now what's really interesting. Here's what's interesting. When you ask somebody what's necessary for a good relationship, first thing, gotta trust. When you say what's important for a good business partnership, well, you got to trust. You want what's a good dynamic for an employer-employee relationship. If trust isn't the first thing on the list, it's definitely one of the top ones that will come in there. Basically, anytime we talk about interacting with people, we all say, well, you got to have trust. I mean, don't even get me started on politics. We should be able to trust, but which kind of leads me to my point here. I'm a firm believer in trust. I think trust is crucial. It's foundational to just about everything that we do. Sometimes more so than others, but it is important. And yet, even though I'm a big fan of trust, I'm a big cheerleader of trust, and some would say that I project a very trusting attitude. The reality is, I apparently really don't trust people all that much. I have discovered, and maybe it's a sign of getting older, maybe it's a sign of just having been smacked around enough times, you finally learn some lessons. But I'm discovering that increasingly I grow more and more cynical about a lot of stuff. Politics, again, definitely one of them. But not just politics, but a lot of things about life in general. And when I hear people, proclaiming things and stuff, and big pronouncements, the first thought in my mind is, I believe the Apostle Peter promised Jesus that he would die for him right before he denied him 3 times. Yeah. So I mean, that's that's the way the gears are working these days. And so, in fact, my niece and I were driving to go get some lunch the other day, and on my street here, it's a T intersection. You go down the street and then T intersection, because if you kept going, you just drive off over into a big ditch and what used to be a raised railroad bed. It's not even really a walking trail now because they took out all the little bridge things that connect it. So it's really just part of a walking trail, and then just sort of drops off because there's no bridge there. But still, so that's there. And then on the other side of that is basically a big floodplain. That's all that's there. And so what we've got now is just this big dead space over there, and nothing's developed there. Nothing's ever going to develop there. And so you drive down the hill, and it's just T intersection, and that's all it's ever going to be. But anyway, you don't care about my description of the intersection. The point being that road that goes the other way is not a major tributary, but certain times of the day it feels that way because it connects a part of Ankeny, north of me, down into Des Moines. It becomes what is called 6th Street in Des Moines. And for those who are familiar with the roads in Des Moines, you're familiar with 6th Street. It goes by North High School and ultimately by Mercy and straight into the heart of downtown Des Moines. And so obviously people who live in Ankeny, especially on the west side of Ankeny, tend to use that as sort of a direct route into downtown. When I worked at Principal downtown, I used it as my direct route. Point being, there's a lot of traffic on this road. So, drive down the hill, we stop, and there's cars going both ways. I've gotten pretty used to when I go that way at certain times of day. Just make yourself comfortable. You're going to be sitting here a while because I swear they somehow collaborate against me, and the traffic coming from both sides, they space themselves out just enough so that if it was only the cars coming from one side, I could zip in there. But the problem is where the big gap is on that side, there'll be a car coming from this side that will fill that gap. And so it's always overlapping, and I'm like, okay. Apparently God decided today I needed to test my patience. So here we are. But on this particular day, there was a couple of cars went by, and then I see a car coming from a little bit of a distance. That if he was going slow enough, I would have had no problem just whipping out in front and turning, going the other way, because he's coming my way and I'm wanting to turn and go into the other lane. All you need to do is clear him and get into the other lane. I would have went, but I wasn't quite sure if he was slowing down or what. And then I notice he's got on his right turn signal, meaning he's indicating he's going to turn on my street where I'm sitting. He's going to turn onto that street. So at that point, as soon as I see that turn signal, I should be able, in full confidence, to hit the gas and just take off, because I don't have to worry about him now. He's indicated he's no longer a factor. He is going to be turning. He is not, I don't have to worry about him running into me because he's turning. He says so. He's got his turn signal on. I should be able to do that. And yet I sat there. No other traffic is coming. And I'm always complaining that there's always traffic all the time. And yet now here is the little traffic that was there is gone, and all I got is this one car. Road is completely clear otherwise. Just got this one car with his turn signal on. But I sit there at the stop sign waiting for this one car because I want to visually verify he's slowing down and that he starts to turn. And then I finally went. Now, it wasn't a huge long time. It was probably, I don't know, 10, 15 seconds, maybe 20 at the most, I suppose. But really, seriously, it's not the time. It's not like, oh man, I could have went, I could have saved that time. That's not my point. My point is, by all rights, I should have been able to go. I should have been able to pull out and drive because he had his turn signal on. He was telling me, I'm going to turn. But I didn't trust the driver. I didn't trust what they were telling me, to the point that in my mind, I'm thinking, you got your turn signal on, but what if you've got it on by mistake? See, my brain starts clicking through all of those things too. What if he's got it on by mistake? What if he already had it on before and I just didn't even notice? Maybe it's still turned on from when he turned onto this road and it's been doing the whole time and he hadn't even noticed. Maybe he really means he's turning at the next intersection. He doesn't even realize there's a road here. All of these things are going on in my head in that short little period of time for my brain to justify why I was still sitting there, when in reality the true reason was I just simply didn't trust the person. I just didn't. Now, he slows down, he turns, and then I left. And I went. But then Megan and I, we both commented about that, about how and she felt the same way. She's like, I get you. I wouldn't have gone either. So, great. So we're both saying we don't trust people. All right. But the more I've thought about that, the more that's really weighed on me, because I don't want to be one of those people who just becomes hard and crusty and just like, I don't trust nobody. I don't want to be that person. But at the same time, I don't want to be the idiot who gets taken for granted all the time, or who gets played for a fool every time. Then I stop and remember the rule of 70 times 7. Where Jesus is sitting there talking to his disciples, and he has this person that says, hey, Jesus, if my brother offends me, how many times should I forgive him? Like 7 times? And Jesus says, no, you need to forgive him 70 times 7. Now, I didn't remember. I think that's like 240 or something. No, it's not. That's not right. It wouldn't be 200. It'd be 2,000. I see. I can't even do the math. But whatever it is. that Jesus is saying that, and it doesn't matter. The point isn't that I'm keeping track 70 times 7 times. That's not the point. The point is, well, I guess maybe it would be 240. Now that I think about it. Anyway, 490. Where did I get 240? Don't, kids, study math better than I did. Don't learn it from me. I was a journalism major. I don't know anything about math. Anyway. 24. Anyhow, scratch on that. The point being, the point Jesus was making was, you're not supposed to hold a grudge. You're not supposed to hold on to that stuff. It's not that you're keeping track. That you go, okay, I've now reached 490 times, so now this next time I can hold it against you. No, because if you're keeping track 490 times, you're not forgiving. But in my case, I didn't know who this driver was. I had no idea who the driver was. So I had no reason. It's not like this person has not turned in front of me before and almost caused me accidents. That has not happened. And so why would I mistrust that person? Because I just don't trust people, apparently. And I can't make other people trustworthy. But I can determine whether I will do more to trust others. And I say that with so much trepidation. And I'm being genuine, I'm being totally serious. Because even as I hear myself saying I'm going to try to trust people more, I find myself going, you really want to do that? Is that really a commitment that you want to make? Because what if? It is fraught with risk and peril. And I'm not saying, again, foolishly, blindly, just trusting what anybody says. But I still don't know if I would have pulled out in front of that car. Because it's a life and death situation potentially there, or at least a damage to my car. So, there's got to be limits somewhere. But seriously, it's not just in that scenario. It's just in general. And there are a lot of situations I won't get into because the video is already long enough as it is. But a lot of other situations that popped in my mind of simple, basic scenarios in which I don't trust somebody the way that I should. Now, Lisa, my girlfriend, I trust her. Megan, my niece, I trust her. Family members, friends, I trust these people that I know. But they're people who have proven that I can trust them. See, and I'm not sure that completely counts as trust. It does. It is trust. You prove I can trust you, so I trust you. But I really think that trust is more than just you proved yourself to me. I think trust is something that we just do. And right now, our world is so divisive and so boom against it. There is no trust. There's no trust whatsoever. I watched I see the clips. I'm not watching it live, but I've seen the clips of the Supreme Court justice being interrogated. I don't know what other way you'd describe it. And there's clearly no trust, at least from half of the senators interviewing. That their questions presume she's going to violate her oath if she's confirmed. Which I'm not aware of anything that's come up in her history that they say that proves that she has a record of violating her oath in the past. But I mean, obviously, half of those senators are convinced that she will. That they just believe that she will. I don't know if she will or not. But that's like an example on a national level of where there's no trust, and not necessarily with reason. But I didn't have reason to not trust the driver that was coming at me either. Not coming at me, coming at the intersection. You know what I mean. My point being, it permeates our whole society now, our whole world. A lack of trust. We all know trust is important. We all know trust is foundational to having healthy relationships and healthy connections with other people. And yet, we, us, individuals, we don't trust. I don't have an answer for this one because I'm still working on it myself, obviously. So I'm leaving us with a challenge. Look for ways that you can stretch yourself and try to be a little bit more trusting. Just baby steps. Don't push yourself out in front of a moving car. But let's all try that. Let's try to create a better atmosphere of trust. If we all do a little bit, it could make a big difference. And with that, I'll see you all next time from my front porch.